temperature within some range, there is usually influx of calcium or sodium into the cell, so that the cell is going to depolarize. And it's much easier to activate such a cell. So they discovered this piezo and TRPV channels. So it's and you know, this is the information from Nature about this Nobel Prize. You can see the discovery of these TRPV1 channels and TRPM 8 channels and also piezo channels by these laureates. It's allow us to understand much better how we respond for external stimuli. Okay, so once again, look at that TRP1 and piezo2 channels. TRP channels are central for our ability to perceive temperature. Piezo1 and later discovered piezo2, it's important for sensing mechanical force, to sense of touch, pressure, and so on. And on that way, it was apparent that it is involved not only in sensing of touch or pressure, as we thought at the very beginning, but also it's involved, for instance, in cardiovascular regulation, because it's an important part of baroreceptors, for instance. Pressure in the urinary and digestive system, pressure acting on bones and cartilage, and in cartilages, and so on. So this is quite important aspect of sensing mechanical force. Since both of either one and the second kind of receptors respond to mechanical force and temperature, they're also involved in generation or modulation of pain. And this was the major target at the very beginning for both Julius and Papatutian. So this is how it works. Look at him, this Artem Pataputian at his lab. It looks like that. He simply discovered this pressure sensitive cells. Cells, maybe it's channels, to discover this new class of sensor. So initially his idea was a little bit different, but it turned out how it turned. So this is the entry to quite complex introduction into physiology of pathophysiology related to, I would say, dysfunctional receptors. How cell, for instance, how cells communicate with each other, how we sense our body in time, in space, how our organ moves and so on. The latest papers from this year. It's quite important how, for instance, cancer cells react with its neighboring, which is near surrounding, because this is sensed by some piezo channels, and the response to this sensing results in what further happens with the cell. So this is the beginning of the story. Okay. Look, it goes like that. This is the protein. The piezo channels are also can be responsible for pain. But you know, if we bruise the skin, so, but not for pain. If we, for instance, use hammer or hit our finger, so this is not universal sensor. It may be related to some kind of pain. It may be related to some kind of acting mechanical pressures, but not for all of them. Okay. So they are abundant in skin, bladder, lung, kidney, colon. So they're highly expressed. And in neurons, primary, secondary neurons. So they're involved in a variety type of cells, like neuron endothelial cells, red blood cells. By the way, there are a lot of studies about red blood cells. Physiological processes like touch sensation, blood pressure, proprioception, vascular development, and related ion channels like TRP mentioned before, and diseases, pain, distal arthrogryposis, cancer, and we've got also some new pharmacological tools. They are under intense studies, under intense research to interfere with those channels. One of those, this is called IODA1, GSMT-TX4, and so on. So this goes like that. This is for me it's a horrible picture, but you know. Imagine that Julius, he originally tested as much as 2 million DNA and RNA structures, chains, in order to find those who are complementary to neural cells or to sensing receptors. Okay. And look at that, this piezo channels. Once again, this was the beginning, identification. And then what we've got in 10 years, urinary system, baroreceptor, so it's been a huge impact on the development of the new research, those discoveries. Once again, you can see this is the mouse model, where those piezo receptors have been found. They're in fact almost everywhere, and they are related to adipocyte differentiation, so obesity, let's say, heart development, lymphatic dysfunction, blood pressure control, angiogenesis, and so on. And if we go further on, those receptors were also identified in humans. So this is, as you can see, those piezo-1, it's present in brain, for instance, red blood cells, lungs, gastrointestinal tract, and so on. So the expression is quite high. What does it practically mean for you, beginners in this science? You've got a lot of fields, potential fields to research. This is the beginning. Look at that. This was published this year, so this is quite new. It is shear stress, communications of neuron with astrocytes. This is development of bone, for instance. These piezoreceptors are involved in that. Let's go further on. So, look at the cancer. It's a very huge, probably involvement of this sensing of this mechanosensing in cancer. By the way, we have in Poland some research team that they've tried to produce like an artificial heart ventricle wall in the tissue culture. It is horrible. Because what I know from that if you put myoblast in the cell culture, it will turn out into round cells with a deficiency of connections between. If